Now let us go over the aseptic technique procedure. Before beginning your work, wash down the lab bench with 10% bleach. Keep a Bunsen burner lit at your lab area. You will use the Bunsen burner to sterilize your equipment. Having the gas burner on in the lab increases the temperature of your lab area as well, reducing the chance of airborne contamination.
There are two ways of transferring microorganisms, using an inoculating loop or a liquid culture. Most lab procedures will require you to transfer culture to a sterile petri dish, a slide, or a tube of liquid culture.
To remove inoculum from a liquid culture, pass the inoculating loop through the flame at a 45-degree angle. Pass the loop through the apex of the inner core of the flame. This is the hottest part of the flame. Continue to pass the wire back and forth through the flame until it glows orange from the heat. This will kill any microorganisms that are present. Allow the loop to cool. If you do not do this, you will kill your inoculum when you place the loop in the culture. Hold the culture tube in one hand, and with your other hand hold the loop. Remove the cap of the culture tube. Do not put the cap down. You will contaminate it if you do so. Pass the open mouth of the tube through the flame at a 45-degree angle. The higher the temperature at the mouth of the tube creates a convection current, pushing air out of the tube. This keeps potential contaminants from dropping into the tube. Keep the tube at the 45-degree angle. Insert the loop to pick up the inoculum and remove. Pass the mouth of the tube through the flame once again. Replace the cap of the tube. To remove inoculum from a solid culture, sterilize the loop as you did for the liquid culture. Lift the lid of the petri dish slightly, just enough to let the loop in, and stab the loop in the agar where there is no bacterial growth to cool the loop. Scrape a tiny amount of inoculum onto the loop, remove, and close the lid. To transfer inoculum to a tube using an inoculating loop, first remove the inoculum from the petri dish as demonstrated earlier. Pick up a new sterile tube of media and remove the cap. Do not put the cap down. Flame the mouth of the tube. Place the loop with the inoculum into the broth and withdraw. Flame the mouth of the tube. Replace the cap. Re-sterilize the loop by passing it through the cone of the flame until it glows orange. To transfer inoculum to a petri dish using an inoculating loop. First, remove the inoculum from the petri dish as demonstrated earlier. Lift the lid of the petri dish just enough for the loop to enter. Streak the loop across the medium using the following pattern. Remove the loop and close the lid. Re-sterilize the loop. To transfer inoculum to a slide using an inoculating loop. First, remove the inoculum from the tube as demonstrated earlier. Place the loop in the culture tube to transfer the inoculum. Reflame the tube and replace the cap. Transfer the inoculum to your microscope slide. Place a cover slip over your sample and re-sterilize your loop. To remove inoculum from a liquid culture using a sterile pipette. Obtain a sterile pipette and carefully open the paper wrapping. Do not touch the pipette or allow the pipette to touch the lab bench. Carefully insert the pipette into the bulb. Hold the culture tube in one hand. Remove the cap of the culture tube. Pass the open mouth of the tube through the flame at a 45-degree angle. Using the bulb, draw up the appropriate amount of culture. Pass the open mouth of the tube through the flame and recap the tube. To transfer inoculum from a liquid culture to a Petri dish using a sterile pipette. First, remove the inoculum from the tube as demonstrated earlier. Lift the lid of the Petri dish just enough for the pipette to enter. Dispense the inoculum into the Petri dish. Close the lid of the Petri dish. Dispose of the pipette in a biohazard container. Pick up a glass rod and dip it in 70 to 95% ethanol. Place the glass rod through the flame, igniting the ethanol. Allow it to burn off completely. Lift the lid of the Petri dish just enough for the glass rod to enter. Place the glass rod on the dish and rotate the dish so that the inoculum is spread evenly over the plate. Close the lid of the Petri dish. Place the glass rod through the flame, igniting the ethanol. Allow it to burn off completely. To clean up your lab area, clean the bench with 10% bleach and dispose of all waste into the biohazard container.